Well, today I'm in Blackpool and I've come to Layton Cemetery. Layton is in the north part of Blackpool, close to Blackpool North Station and Layton Station, and you can actually see the Blackpool Tower from here. When I get a view of it, I'll include that on this video. I've not been here before, I've not got any plans. I'm just going to walk around, film anything I think is interesting, inscriptions or designs of the monument and so on, and let's see how it goes. This is Layton Cemetery in Blackpool. Here's a charming one, a figure here of a young boy, and underneath it says Kenneth, the son of Edmund and Mary Cooper, 1936, aged 8 years. There's a war grave here for leading aircraftsman H. Greenwood, RAF, 1943, age 30. Close by there's one for a member of the Polish forces that's commemorated here, 1940, age 46, Kaniak. There's an area here which is totally overgrown. I think it's probably a part of the cemetery rather than a collection of memorials, but it's completely wilded, thick with brambles, and it's not able to penetrate that at all. Apart from that one small area which is hedged in, the rest of the graveyard is extremely well looked after. In fact, there are guys in the distance of the air with their cutters mowing it as we speak. Now this is an unusual design. It looks like a pile of blocks underneath, one for each person commemorated, and on top is an open book. Now I'm looking across the graveyard and I hope you can see in the distance, above the memorials, you can see the outline of the Blackpool Tower. That's how close we are to that spot. There are some very well carved memorials here. This one's got the angel with the scroll in her hand, and it's in memory of Laura Maud Tiffin of Montreal, Canada, died 1933. This one here also has the angel, and this is to Margaret Ethel Buglier, 1927. And another angel here, this time with lilies in her hand, and this one commemorates Irene Millicent Warrington. Little stone here, P. Wood Collins, late Senior Assistant Secretary to the Punjab Government, 1944. This is an area dedicated to those that died from the Polish forces. We saw the individual stone earlier on, but there's another 25, 30 here who are commemorated in this little garden of remembrance. The Polish forces. Something different here, William Woodcock. We don't really know much else about him, but the stones are a little distinctive from the rest. Another one in this polished black stone, and this is an interesting inscription here. We have Sergeant Pilot Fred Lister, RAF, who lost his life in a flying accident at Westerham in Kent in 1924. He was just 21 years old. Well, I hope you can hear me clearly. There's a lot of strimmers and cutters going on in the graveyard as they keep it clear. This is an interesting one. It's to Harry Pollard, and at the top we've got a likeness of the gentleman himself, looking very distinguished in his suit and tie. Albert Marsh, foreman engineer of the Blackpool Gigantic Wheel, died in 1925. There's quite a little group here of these ones with the 4 piers and the roof above. The domed roof, one there, 2, 3, a 4th one standing even higher, and just across the path another one with the urn on top. This one's got a clearly distressed angel on top of the stone, and it's to Bertha Broom. Here's one that's claimed a little plot with the stones around the outside, and this is to Thomas and Sarah Atherton. And sadly it tells us very little else about the person, except he was known as Tom and he died aged 18. Plenty of forlorn ladies in this graveyard. Here's one for Charles Chester Coker, and another here in memory of Fred, the husband of Alice Wesson. This is clearly a modern stone, 2018, but I just show it to you because the way they've brought colour into the stone, it just lifts it out from the rest. I show you this one because it's quite an unusual surname, and I saw another stone with it on a little earlier on. Lutas, Henry Lutas. Not a surname I think I've seen very much before here. This stone here, very clear in the inscription, Joseph Tweedale, late of Rochdale, and Alice's wife, who died at South Shore. And then it mentions some Bentleys. One here for a casualty in 1919, Lieutenant Arthur Smith, Royal Engineers. He was just 33. Now you know how I like unusual surnames. This is Martha, the wife of Sutcliffe Noddle, and Sutcliffe Noddle himself. What a wonderful name. A detailed stone here, a lot of work gone into this, but I was more interested with the inscription at the bottom here. This is Samuel James Butterworth, life president of the Blackpool Football Club, life president of the Blackpool Liberal Club. And I presume that's his parents up there, Samuel Frost Butterworth. Got a very large lump of stone here with an anchor and a tree trunk and possibly a mace or something. And on the front here it says Broadhead, and inscriptions are down the side. Very tall one here with the angel on top reaching up into the trees now, on the tallest in the graveyard. And there's a number of names on it. We've got Fletcher, and we've got Jackson, and there's a whole family history on this stone. Another tall one here, but unfortunately it's at an angle. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it's marked to Gilbert Riddings. Loving the anchor and chain on this one, very well done. And it's Florence Gwendolyn, can't read that other word. And at the bottom, John Atkinson and Alice Ann Firth. Simple inscription, no sentiments there, Edward Crofton, 1901. One here, a little bit more carefully made than many of the stones, and the inscription on the front here is Frederick Henry Parkinson, Mayor of Blackpool, who died in 1936. I've just been talking to that old chap there with these 2 cans of beer, and he told me that I should realise I'm in the dead centre of Blackpool. Not a bad little joke. Part way down on this one we have a war casualty, gunner Edward Wallis Cardwell, killed in action in France 1917, aged 33. Well, I don't think I've ever found a graveyard with so many angels or mourning young ladies on the memorials. Here's one who's obviously rather upset, on memory of Arthur Bullis Kami, late of Jerusalem. Interesting first name here, Jane Evelyn, the wife of Whittle Fellows Barker, and also Whittle Fellows Barker himself. Whittle is the first name. Interesting. And we saw one of this design earlier on. Very unusual, the building blocks underneath and the open book on top. And we just have to include this one. You've got the cricket stumps and the ball breaking them underneath, and it says bold at last, Richard Gorton Barlow. For 21 seasons a playing member of the Lancashire County 11, and for 21 seasons an umpire in county matches. He also made 3 journeys to Australia with the English teams. So there we are, Richard Garton Barlow. Some very intricate carving on this one, with the plant, the vine growing up through the cross, and at the top here you can see the dove. Very nicely done. Here's a very large stone with a very clear and large inscription on it. And this is Gerald Irving Richardson, Superintendent of the Lancashire Constabulary, who died in the performance of his duty 1971, aged 38. He died when pursuing with a colleague 5 armed robbers, and they trapped him down an alleyway, and Gerald Richardson was shot twice at point blank range in the stomach and died soon after. Here's one to Gary Andrew, darling little boy of Eileen and Walter Woodhouse, and he was 2.5 years when he died. And there's a little image of a child here, probably Gary Andrew. This one with an open book on top is to commemorate William Hoyle, author of hymns and songs, daisy ballads, etc., and founder of the Lancs and Cheshire Band of Hope Union. Died 1895. One here about the Mitchells, Deputy Mayor and Mayoress of Blackpool, and a few other titles down towards the bottom. Here's one to James Lord, a sergeant in the 52nd LI, I don't know where that's, Lancashire Infantry Regiment, who died in 1906. A brave and modest soldier. Present at the capture of Delhi, he witnessed with deep sorrow the fall of the gallant General Nicholson. Here's one that turns up in guidebooks to the cemetery. George Washington Williams, Afro-American historian, 1849 to 1891. I believe this is the one that the American group actually paid for the headstone to commemorate this chap, George Washington Williams. Chap here who's a little out of area, Dr. J. Hayworth of Sequoia, Canada, who died in 1910. Here's one with a happier looking angel than some of those we've seen. She's even got a toe sticking out the bottom of her gown. I've included this one because of the unusual Art Deco style of the stone itself. The original memorial was put up in 1929, the start of the Art Deco period, and it just makes it a little different from most of the stones around. And yet another angel prostrate in sorrow. I didn't realise angels could be unhappy, but this one clearly is. And this young lady, she also is bowed down by sadness. And here she is, just totally resigned to the situation. Here's one to Ernest Edward Tong, who died in the Lytham railway disaster in 1924. This was a disaster where the express train from Liverpool lost the front wheel fractured, and the train was derailed, and 15 people died in that accident. So here's Ernest Edward Tong. Something a little different here. We don't often see the crucifixion scene depicted on a gravestone. This is to Unsworth. And right next door is another one. This one is to Parkinson, John Henry Parkinson, again with the crucifixion depicted. And just a few plots away is a third one. This one is to Thomas Wallis. Each side of the path now we have war memorials. This one names 7 people who died in the First World War. On the other side, another 18 names. Oh, sorry about the background noise. There are 5 or 6 gentlemen in the graveyard here, strimming and mowing. and it's difficult to get to a spot where they're not making a lot of noise. This one is Sir John Hallam, ex-superintendent of Derbyshire Police, and down the bottom here we have the Freemason symbols. Interestingly enough, I noticed above that Jane Exon, aged 75 years, who was his housekeeper. So she's in the same grave. Anyway, there we are, Freemason's grave, police superintendent. I think most of them are members of the Masons. Well, I'm going to leave it there. It has been a fascinating cemetery. I visit a lot of cemeteries and graveyards around the country, and I'd certainly put this in my top tier for interest. What did strike me was the large number of angels in various poses. Presumably that's the forte of the local stonemason. But there are some interesting inscriptions here, a lot more that I haven't uncovered, haven't seen, and certainly worth a visit, and not so far from effectively the centre of Blackpool. You're within short walking distance of Blackpool Tower. So do come and visit the cemetery and spend some time here. You'll find it most interesting. Till the next time.